Hey there, good evening. Time for the Bronx Buzz, BronxNet's program where we talk to reporters, writers, editors, journalists, sports writers, sportscasters, he said with a good reason. And in our second segment, we talk to authors and maybe some artists and other people. But right now, the biggest sports news out there is that the New York Mets basically signed Juan Soto away from the New York Yankees. And my buddy, Howie Karpin, Bronx boy, first, last, and always, official scorer for Major League Baseball, columnist for NewYorkSportsDay.com, Sirius Update anchor, has written 14 books. The latest is a fascinating book, which he knows I love, on Sports Phone. Howie Karpin, nice to have you with us, my friend.
Always a pleasure, and especially when there's news.
When there's real news. So there's really two ways to look at it. One is the Mets point of view and one is the Yankees point of view. And then, of course, the larger point of view. So let's just start with the Mets. This is a really big thing for them off the field. And then, of course, we can talk about it on the field. Let's just get it. 15 years, $765 million.
Well, it puts them in the bottom line is he makes them better. Let's call it what it is. I mean, he's an impactful bat, one of the best hitters in the game. He's going to bring a lot to the lineup. People underestimate impact. He's going to impact that lineup just by his presence, as he did the Yankee lineup last year. So this is an enormous move for the Mets. A culture-changing move, in my opinion, because it's something that they've never really experienced. I know a lot of Met fans are happy that they fleeced the Yankees on this, and but the bottom line is he makes them better and he thrusts them into contention. Even though last year was a fun year because no one expected them to be in the NLCS, which they ended up doing. They had a terrific season, thanks a lot to Lindor, who was an MVP candidate. Now, getting Juan Soto ups the expectations, exponentially and, puts them in the realm of, what Yankee fans have experienced for years. And that is World Series or bust. I mean, this has to pay off in at least one championship, if not more. He's that impactful and he's that good. Now, there's some nonsense being tossed around. But I get from jealous Yankee fans and maybe people outside of New York that he's not a good fielder and he doesn't run the base as well. And that's a lot of baloney. I mean, he's an average fielder. He's not Gold Glove. He should never have been nominated for a Gold Glove. Mm-hmm. He takes bad routes on balls at times. He's not Gold Glove material. But you live with it because his offense certainly overwhelms the defense.
And as well as I do, and any baseball fan knows, a lot of times you can have a good lineup, but if you don't have guys on the mound who can throw and certainly play defense and do some of the other fundamental things that build winning teams, you can't do well. The Mets right now don't have a very impressive pitching staff. Do you have any names that you anticipate, or let's just kind of wait and see?
There's been, they also need protection in the lineup. I don't know if you can count on Mark Vientos batting behind them as real protection. I know the kid had a terrific year last year, but as well as I do, 1 year doesn't really, determine that to make you a solid major league player. He's going to have to make adjustments from the pitchers this season. So I wouldn't really count on him as protection. Now that brings Pete Alonso into the conversation. They're talking about getting him back. But at what price? He would certainly be a nice bat behind Soto, as Judge was last year in the Yankee lineup. Now, pitching-wise, I can see them going after Walker Buehler. He would be a nice addition on a pretty reasonable contract. I don't think they're going to pursue Corbin Burns or Max Fried. Those two are going to ask for big money. I don't see David Stearns, putting out big money for a name like that. But a Walker Buehler of that type, and they have trade chips too, to their credit.
And how about the Japanese pitcher?
I don't think he ends up on the East. I have a feeling he ends up in either San Diego or LA. They all want to go there now, so it's going to be pretty tough to lure him away from the West Coast.
I'm just going to, you alluded to it quickly. To me, as a Met fan, It's a very big thing. I think they must sign Pete Alonso. I don't want to hear that, like, well, we put our budget into Soto. And then I just think the lineup is so much better. Plus, if he had a kind of a weak year with runners in scoring position, with this guy batting in front of him, he could, Soto could do the same thing for Pete, because Pete did hit 53 homers once. He could do the same thing for Pete Alonso. So that's the way I look at it.
No, it's a good point. And, the analytical world tries to predict what's happening with a player. If I'm, we've watched Alonso since he's come up. Why can't you think that he's going to rebound from this down season, and have a better year overall? Also, you got to remember last year, all the moves they made kind of clicked. So that really doesn't happen in one season. I mean, Tyrone Taylor came through. You don't know if these guys are going to bounce back and have the kind of years they have like they had last year.
And certainly, there's no question about Alonso's fitness for this team. The fact that he's a gamer, his defense, especially on throws, is phenomenal. Anyway, let's talk about the hometown Yankees here. This is it's a tough hit for them. What do they do now to rebound, or number one, to fill all three outfield spots? And the Mets stole another pitcher from them as well, and Clay Holmes. Where are they at, and what do you see with the New York Yankees?
Well, I think they're going to have to commit to a youngster in center field, and that's Jason Dominguez. I know he had trouble in left field last year defensively, so a narrative has developed that he may not be a good defender. He was playing an unfamiliar position, and I think he got so caught up in trying to, because every game he was out there working at it before the game. I think he got so caught up in his defense that he took away from his offense. This kid's, one of the top prospects in the sport, and he was a much better center fielder than he was a left fielder. So I think they're going to try to commit, have him win the job in center, even though they have Trent Grisham. But if Trent Grisham is your everyday center fielder, you have a lot of problems. Aaron Judge is going to move back to right field where he belongs. Eventually, he's going to have to move to first base, in my opinion, to take pressure off his legs as he ages. But right now, that's not the plan. And then they need a left fielder, an outfielder that they're going to pursue either in free agency or via the trade market. Their infield also needs to be restructured. Now, supposedly they're in on Nolan Arenado, who reportedly would waive his no trade to come to the Bronx. Now,
but isn't he declining just a little bit?
According to the analytics, but maybe a change of scenery, will help him boost back his offensive numbers. Right. He's still playing terrific defense, is what the Yankees need in that infield, because you don't know about Anthony Volpe. He took a step back last year. They could move Jazz Chisholm to second, which would strengthen his second base position over Gleyber Torres, and they still need a first baseman. So
if they move Chisholm, they need a third baseman.
Right. And supposedly they're looking at Alex Bregman maybe to sign him, or Arenado, and they still need a first baseman. So there's a lot of things to be done here. Even if they kept Soto, they'd still have to make a lot of these moves, to fill other holes, right, which really ended up costing them in the World Series.
Do they aim for Pete Alonso? I mean, baseball-wise, he'd be a good fit.
I think they're looking at it. I think they're discussing it. He's a guy who could benefit from that short right field at the stadium. He would give Judge a little more protection than Giancarlo Stanton, who's been inconsistent, even though he's been great in the postseason. He doesn't stay on the field a whole lot. And Alonso, to his credit, he plays a lot. He doesn't get hurt a whole lot. So I think they're looking in that direction.
162 last year. They also may like, even if they don't get him, driving up the price for the Mets, make the Mets have to sweat and do it after what happened. This is, after all, a competitive sport. Howie, you've been involved in baseball at all levels for so many years. What does this signing mean for the sport? The amount of money is just crazy. And listen, ticket prices, the cost of parking, I think at Yankee Stadium, it may be $40. At Citi Field, it's been $30. That's a lot of money. I go into one of the bars, you pay $30 for a cocktail. I mean, it's a little bit out of control. And certainly if they keep spending like this, it's not going to be any less.
Very true. And you can expect prices to go up. Steve Cohen's a businessman as well as a
Yes.
baseball fan. So, yeah, I mean, this changes the price structure overall, parking, ticket prices, concessions. Look, they want to cash in on this $765 million beside on the field.
Yeah.
He's not a guy who really transcends off the field, revenue like an Ohtani does, but that doesn't matter, or an Aaron Judge. We're finding out also about his personality. He likes the money. That's fairly obvious. And now there's a report out that the Yankees didn't offer him a suite and the Mets offered him a suite. If you're that nitpicky and you chose the Mets because they offered you a suite, you better produce on the field.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to anyway.
But listen, Howie, let's not be naive. Once they put that number 22 jersey up for sale, there's going to be a lot of people who are buying it. But, listen, the prices of that stuff, you go to Citi Field, you want to buy a T-shirt, it's like $50.
I know.
It's totally
again,
insane.
they want to cash in. And one other thing here is, out of New York, they become the new villains along with the Yankees. Again, they're going to have to experience this. The expectations are going to be sky high. It's World Series or bust this year. You're right. They need to work on their pitching. They have to improve there. But right now, it's World Series or bust for this team because that's what this guy can do for them being in their lineup.
Howie, we just got about a minute left. What about for you? You're going to be scoring another year. About how many, just to let people know, how many games you're the official scorer? We certainly have heard the announcers refer to you on occasion, both positively and negatively, but where are you at?
Well, hopefully I'll be going into my 27th year. I just did my 7th World Series game, which was a thrill again, to at least get an opportunity to do a game. And I can tell you, thanks to Elias, that was my 39th postseason game overall. And if you combine my regular season numbers and my postseason numbers, I'm 8 games shy of working 1,500 games.
Wow.
So pretty proud of that record.
Well, how are you and me in our own universes? I've got 1,470 editions of Bronx Talk. So there you go. Listen, Howie, having you as a friend and a reference when I really need it on baseball is a thrill and a joy. And of course, our friendship will go on forever. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
Always appreciate your support over the years. Thank you.
All right. We take a short break. And when we come back, we do have something real special to talk about. Don't go away.